Now we are ready for the new speak with Ed and Jacob, testing with Selenium. Værsgo.
Tak. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Edward. This is Jacob. And this is the camp, 25th of July. Okay, my background, I come from the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, go Bruins, yes. And I work for a company called Time and Date AS in Stavanger. We have 3 websites, one in Norwegian, one in German, and one in English. We get millions upon millions upon millions of hits per day. We make all our money off of Google, our website. People don't come to it. They don't type in www.timeanddate.com. We get it from Google mainly, a little bit from Bing. We are also a vendor to Google. We provide the calendar information that you see in the Google Calendar. If you want to know what the holidays are in the Philippines or in Belarus or something like that, we've done the research and we provide that to them. Time zone information. There's a big eclipse coming up on the 21st of August in the US. Going to be there, Kristen?
Yes.
Yeah, Kristen's going. And the hotel rooms are sold out. I mean, they've already said that people are driving for days to get to that. Yes. We have Android apps, we have iPhone apps, and we're a very bleeding edge technology company. You know, it's we have everything we can do to scrape another dollar out of Google. We do. Jacob goes to Bellingham Technical College in Bellingham, Washington. He's an engineering student, and he's visiting for the summer. So it's his first time in Denmark. Enjoying the beer so far. Yes, he was quite amazed to figure out that Carlsberg and Tuborg both come from Denmark. They really do. Yeah, and from the same company. Yeah, that's quite amazing. Okay, what we're going to talk about is Selenium. Selenium is a testing tool. At Time and Date, I'm a programmer. My background was with a couple bigger companies, IBM for 20 years, Statoil. You've heard of Statoil? Yeah, that's it. A Swedish bakery called Pågens. Yes, yeah, I worked for Pågens for 5 years. And where do you think this came from? And all 3 were mainframe customers, IBM mainframe systems. And now I've sort of reinvented myself. I are a Java programmer. And I took a couple Java programming classes at the local university in Trondheim where I lived. And I took one in Android programming, and I took another one in Java programming, and I've sort of made this transition because there aren't too many positions open for COBOL programmers anymore in Europe. Everything seems to be, don't even laugh. And I heard that.
Or something else.
All of you people, you can all, COBOL was it was the first language. It was very, it was bleeding edge in 1966. And it really was. And do you use a Dancourt? Yes, you use a COBOL program when you use the Dancourt today, or whatever. I mean, it's still in use. There's still gazillions of lines of code in use every day. And it's not like Danske Bank or Nordea is going to change their back-end systems that have been around for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You know, those systems are expensive. So what's happening these days is the cost of programming here in Europe is going up, and as Prosa knows all too well, things are getting outsourced to India, to China, to Ukraine, to Belarus, and it's people who don't have as good a command of English who are doing the work, and they don't know. You know, we've sent some bank giro coding off to a company in India. Well, they didn't know what a bank giro was. How do you expect people to code programs when they don't know what it's even talking about? So the kind of programming that's happening, we get it back and we have to test it. So testing is actually booming at the moment. It's really taking off, and the kind of code that we're getting from offshore is sadly lacking these days. So testing, we're finding a real niche. So what's happening is a product called Selenium came on the market. Well, what is Selenium? Selenium's a framework. It runs on multiple platforms. It runs on the standard Windows, Linux, and Fruit computers. And it is also an interactive development environment. We can also program in Java to call Selenium programs. So you can actually create what you need in testing in a couple of different ways. We're going to show you at least two of them today. There's several versions of Selenium. It's all open source. If you want to make changes to it, they will gladly let you make changes to it. If you screw things up, though, you can always go back to the original version. They charge you consulting fees, and that's where they make their money, of course. You know, of course it's open source. You know, you want to make a change, go ahead. You know, but at 1,150 kroner an hour, they'll help you fix your errors. Okay, where did it come from? Well, back in the 90s, there was a product called Mercury. And Mercury was created in California by a company called Mercury Interactive. They did their programming in Israel. And Mercury Interactive had a whole suite of programs with the system development life cycle in mind. You could develop your programs, you could test your programs, you could migrate them to production, you controlled the versions with everything. And Hewlett-Packard came in and they bought the company for $4.5 billion, that's billion with a B, $1 billion. I mean, it was at the time, everyone went, Selenium who? They spent $4.5 billion to buy this company. They had a couple hundred people. They had no assets. They owned the desks. They owned laptops. You know, but what they owned was the software. And there was a little problem at the end of the 1990s called the Y2k problem. Anyone? Anyone? Okay. The year 2000 problem was coming, and suddenly people needed to start replacing systems and testing them. Well, Hewlett-Packard came in with their $4.5 billion purchase. They rebranded it as HP Quality Center. And they immediately, the first thing they did was jack up the prices. We had Mercury when I was at Statoil. Is that a repeat or? No? Okay. We had Mercury when I was at Statoil, and we used it for the Y2k project. And suddenly, after 2000, they increased their price by 4 times. I mean, it was just, they quadrupled their price. Well, that's because I paid so much money for the company. And something magical happened. There was a small company in Chicago, and they created software called Selenium. And where the name comes from is selenium is an antidote for quicksilver, for mercury poisoning. So it's the opposite to Mercury. They open sourced everything, and like I said, they make their money not off the software but off consulting. And it's a pretty good package. Okay, what we want to do, the simplest, oops, we've lost it. Did I step on the cable or something? No? Okay. Well, the simplest version, if you want to follow along, Christian, if you brought, you can download it, and the simplest version is a plugin for Firefox. So if you want to download it from there, you can, or just, you know, Google it if you don't want to type that address. And we'll show you what it looks like. Yeah, go there, and then open up Firefox. Okay, so what it does, let's close the box here and then show how to open it. Yeah. And okay, this is my go-to address. I'll do with Firefox. The second part I'll do with Chrome.
Kan du,
Hvad?
du ved, hvad den er. Smut det. Louis. Ja. Smut. Smut dig. Ja. Så må I klippe i det bagefter.
Great. Thank you. Is the response time faster? Is it faster?
Yeah.
Great.
Now it's working.
Okay.
Say something, Ed.
Okay. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country.
What country?
Yeah.
You have 3 countries like something.
Okay. Are we there yet?
Yeah, go on.
Oops, I just broke it.
Again? Well, we're gonna post this in the comic session, I think. Well, I have you sound now. Please go on.
Okay, good. All right, excellent. So this is Firefox. We'll do the second part of it in Chrome. Okay, so Firefox, we have an option after it's installed to open it and click the little down thingy, the twister. There's 2 options to do it. Start up Selenium as a pop-up, start up Selenium as a sidebar. I like doing it as a sidebar because it'll pop up over here. Are we losing part of the... Yeah. Because it's a big screen, we only got part of it?
Maximize the window and...
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And then make it, drag it a little down too, if you could, please. Am I that fat? I blocked out the whole screen? Okay, great. Excellent. Well done. Okay, so what we can do is, at the very basic level, is we can record keystrokes and we can play them back. So if you go up here and pick a site that doesn't have a picture of Trump on it, this is the record button here. Yeah. There, and then just click on something, agree and proceed. And as you click on, say, yeah, that's great. Yeah. See what happened here is the keystrokes that he just keyed are being recorded, and he can play them back. Additionally, we could export this to a HTML file, and you could edit the file using some sort of a browser or some sort of a editor. Okay, so try get a few, yeah, click a few things. That's great. Okay, now take this one. Let's export the file. So do a file save on it, and save test case, and create, let's call it Mike. Great. Now go into Explorer. The other one, that one, yeah. And try and find the file. Yeah. And do a right click and open. Yeah, this is what it looks like just to see it in a browser. In addition, do a right click on the file and we can open it in some sort of a see, go back to it here in downloads, was it? And here and right click. Yeah, open in something like WordPad. Okay. There it is. Okay, and this will show you the actual HTML. that it has generated for you. There's a bunch of header crap at the beginning. It's a technical term. And then everything you've done, whether you've done an open, a click, it breaks it into TRs, and then TD, close TD, TD, close TD, TD, close TD, and a closing TR. So everything's in sets of 3. Good. And the first is the action, and then what you've actually done with it. This looks very much like a XPath. Okay. So if you want to do, click on different things throughout the screen, you can edit that if you want. And then, let's go back to Firefox now. And then we can go up to the top and hit playback. Yeah, to slow it down a little bit. There's a very useful control here to slow it down. Otherwise, it goes really fast. So hit play. And so it's playing back the keystrokes that he just created. You can see how this is useful. If you need to run 1,000 tests on something, or say a volume test, you need to run the same test 1,000 times to see if your database crashes. You can run it. Why is this thing flickering so much? Is that just my eyes?
No, it's the thing that sits between the key and the predictor.
Okay. Great. All right. Does that seem pretty clear? You want to try it, Christian, or?
I have a question.
Okay, please. Wait, we have to wait. What do we do with the mic? Mike, we need mics.
That's it. Is it on? It's on. Perfect.
Go for it. Shoot.
What if you have something like a single page application in JavaScript, which has subcomponents that block events from bubbling up, and you want to test that?
Then we go on to the next step.
Okay.
Okay, this is the simplest. This is recording keystrokes and playing them back.
Because I can imagine that would be a problem. It uses those events to capture it.
Yeah, it's then you got to get a little higher level language. It's higher than HTML.
Okay.
And that's what we'll do next. Okay, good. Turn back to the center position for mute. Okay, then go ahead and close everything. We can close that one, close that. Good. Okay, now what? We go to the next part. A little bit more complex screens. All right, you can do what this is. This is a Java program where I go out to a website, I go to a URL, I find a button, and I press it by looking at the JavaScript. This happens to be a JavaScript screen. So I find the ID, and I do something with the ID, like click it. Then I find another ID with a name, and actually send some keys. And then I go to another one. This one I use the XPath, because sometimes JavaScript programmers don't name their fields with an ID. We can do it with class, we can do it with ID, we can do it with XPath. Depends how you want to do it. And here we're going to click at the very end. All right, think it's going to work? So do a Control F11. Yeah. Okay, it starts up. We go to a website. We go to a part in a website, we key some keys, we click, and we get it back, and it stops. Okay, let's try it again. Same Control F11. Starts up, puts in a URL, goes over to the search bar, clicks on the search, keys some words, clicks on the search bar, and closes down. So with that, you can program anything. I can take any screen and I can make it dance. I can take any hidden field. Where it really gets complex is in the naming of the fields. If you got to use XPaths to name the fields, you just go forever. And the problem here is if somebody changes the screen, well, you got to rewrite your program. You know, so we got good features and bad features with it. All right, let's go back to the top, page up a little bit. Good, that's great. Okay, this is a Java program. Click the plus sign next to the number 3. Yeah. So it's just got some stuff. In addition, there's a testing software called JUnit that I use that allows us to it's a testing framework that allows us to keep track of the tests that I'm in. In addition, I have a little bit further where I actually take a picture of the screen and I store it. So going through this, I have the URL that I need, and I page down a little bit, please. Yeah. So I set the property set, and you were asking about Chrome. Okay, it works really well in Chrome. It works really well in Firefox. It doesn't work yet in Edge. I've got an open ticket with Microsoft, and they haven't even responded to me. It works in the old Internet Explorer, but the WebDriver is just, I don't know. Microsoft isn't prioritizing Edge for some reason. But so I set the URL, and then I put this where I create a screen capture. Then I look for the text that is called search button, and I click on it. Then I look for the text that's named query_site and key some text. Then I look for the XPath, which is that name, and click it. And with that, I can do anything. Yes? Oh.
The screenshots that you're capturing, I see you repeat the name. Is that because they get appended, or
yeah, it's because I screwed up? Good catch. I noticed that just as we were try running this. Yeah, I made it. I have a bug. It's if you go. Let's see. Close this thing. And then down here, you see where it says, oh, we can't. Yeah, try this again. And just make it a little bit wider. And then now drag the whole thing to the right. A little bit more to the right. It's always there we go. There's my PNG. And yeah, usually I would make it different names, but I screwed up. So you caught me, Praven. So this is using Eclipse. You can use your favorite IDE, whatever you'd like to use. I find this one because I've just been using this for 20 years. You know, my fingers know the options on this without even having to think about it. Yes?
Is that Selenium that's behind this driver class and catch class?
It is.
Okay.
So it uses the Selenium WebDriver. And there's different versions of the Selenium WebDriver. For Firefox, I don't know Tor. I didn't even think about Tor until yesterday. But I know for the big three that we use, it works. Oops, wait, I don't think I had it right. I think I fat fingered it. Okay. What? Okay, let's go to the top.
I'll open up and look for selenium.net. Yes, Selenium. Perfect. Silence. And you can't see what's there yet, can you? Okay. Did we lose the internets?
No.
Take out the .net. Go to that first one. Okay. We're back. Okay, this is the Selenium screen. There's different versions. They have extensive help screens on here for using it. So at the basic level, you can record keystrokes and play them back. And then you can save what you've done, edit it, create a second file. At the more advanced level, you can actually write a higher level program like a Java program that actually goes into your page and makes it sing and dance. You can control anything you've named. You can even control them, you can control things that are on the fly, that are like lists that are created on a page. The next thing that's coming, and it's not quite as, it's not quite working great yet. We used to use, I used to use Eclipse for developing Android applications. But about 6 months ago, Google came out and said they have this new Android Studio, and they demanded that we use Android Studio to do it. It's not quite working yet with Selenium. They're working on it. So that's the third step. So you can simply record and play back a page. You can, in a more complex way, use Java or another language to make your screens work, or you can use the Android Studio. Any applications you'd like to see? Any websites? Do you have something in mind? A big smile? Yes. Okay. There we go. What would you like?
So what you've been testing so far is pointing at specific elements in the DOM and affecting those and checking its state.
Exactly.
Is it possible, if you have something which is not part of the DOM but an embedded element, that you just wish to make an image comparative check on a subset of the page?
An image. You want to compare like the
you
size
have,
of an image,
old
perhaps?
applications, as an example, Silverlight, which is really nasty in that aspect, where the only thing you need to check is whether the Silverlight application, given a specific version of a browser, gives you a specific image.
You can probably get the properties of the image if you're looking for something like the size or the date.
But it does not do image recognition in that.
It doesn't do image recognition, no, but I can get the properties of a file to see if it's the correct file. We were looking at geonames last night, and if we wanted to, for example, make sure I had the correct zip file for, you know, German names or something like that, I could check. I could get the file, get the properties of the file, check the date, check the size to make sure I had the proper file. I guess we could do the same for a picture.
But is it a picture you can like grab as a file from the
Is it that depends on the application? It was more of a generic question, not intended for a specific product. So
I'm sure we can do something.
But there could be two ways. If it contains text, you can do a OCR scanning of the both and see the match, I guess. Or you can do like
if Selenium does that.
You can call a program. If you had a program that did that.
Okay.
Well, and if you can take a screenshot like this, and you can do comparison.
Yeah, possibly.
That would work. It's good. Okay, does everybody feel comfortable using this? Okay, so you can manipulate a screen, and imagine some of the stuff I have to do. I need to run 1,000 tests, or I need to run 1,000 tests within a 5-minute period to see if we crash the server on the back end. We have 7 servers around the world, and sometimes the lag time for the Australian server is a little longer than the lag time for the Canadian server. And so what I'll do is I'll run a test. I'll just throw 1,000 tests out there and see what the response time looks like. Okay. Yes, sir.
Is it usable for? Is it usable for? I'm thinking of using it for other things than testing, such as collecting data. Are people doing that, or am I just crazy?
No, you can do that. You can. The way I collected screen prints and made a PNG out of it, so you can do that within a program. So let's say you want to collect the top 10 records off a database every other day or something like that.
I actually made a script myself that logs into my netbank every 10th minute and checks the saldo.
There's something called Jenkins that you could probably...
I could do that with Selenium, or what?
You could. Yeah, definitely you could. I've got a couple of programs where I'm testing. We use a company called HackerOne, and sometimes they tell us that we have vulnerabilities. So what I'll do is I'll write a little program in Selenium, and I'll try and hit our user ID and password sign-ons. And if I can get 3 bad passwords within a 45-second period, then I want to cancel out that user ID. So I can test things like that. There's other things on the market that could do that for you. If you want something to just go to sleep for 5 minutes and then wake up every 5 minutes and do a test, and then go to sleep again and wake up and do a test. You could do it with this, but I'm saying there's other products out in the market that might be a little better at that.
Such as?
Jenkins.
Jenkins?
Yes.
That would be your go-to for a solution like that?
That's what we use. We test the, go to timeanddate.com. And go to APIs. We sell, go to API for developers, the bottom one. We sell APIs to people with time and date calculations. Air Forces, the Royal Moroccan Air Force, there's a company in Norway called Avinor, that they control all the airports in Norway, and they need to know, what time it is every once in a while. And page down a little bit. So we have different APIs, and what we do is we run a test every day to make sure all the APIs are up and running, and we use Jenkins for that. So I'm not trying to dissuade you from using Selenium, but perhaps use the right tool for the right job.
Nice, thanks.
Sure. Yes, Inga.
When you do those 1,000 tests, could you use input, a variable as input? So you have different information to put into the side.
Yes.
Page.
And the way I usually do it, I know this is going to sound cheesy, but I make an Excel spreadsheet, and then I use the spreadsheet, because my fingers just can do it. I can key an Excel spreadsheet without looking, and when I need to run a test of 1,000 locations, or one of the things I've got a couple set up for half and quarter time zones. There's Lord Howe Island, Prince Edward Island, India is a half time zone, and so every time we do something like that, I just run it through, and my input method of choice is an Excel spreadsheet. I can give you code to do that. Great. Everybody feel comfortable with this? Something you learned, that you can actually make your browser do something via a program. Great. Well, thank you very much. Yes. Excellent. I'll post what we have up on the camp website too. So if you want to do some specific, hit page forward on this one a little bit. Yeah, or F5 and then. Oops, doesn't want to do anything. Hang on, there, and then page forward a little bit. I have some detailed instructions on how to actually try something out, how to give an example within Firefox, and then hit page. And then here's another one where we actually create a file, copy it in HTML, make some changes to that HTML and run it. And then one more is the actual using the web driver. I can put this up there too. So if you want an example of the code. Okay, great. Thank you very much. What time is it? 4:47. Perfect. 45 minutes exactly.